First contact and devastation. The message came at 400 colony time. I was half asleep in my quarters when the emergency comm chirped, yanking me from dreams of Earth's oceans, something I hadn't seen in person for 8 years. The harsh light of my console illuminated the sparse room as the message scrolled across. ALERT. Unidentified OGECTs 8PPROHHANG mining outpost Delta. All command is stay FFREPORTIMMEDA. My name is Captain Maya Chen, military advisor to the Proxima Centauri P colony, humanity's first interstellar settlement, and until today, I thought my posting here was ceremonial. 3 years of minor disputes between miners and administrative staff, occasional equipment theft, and one poorly planned colonist uprising that ended with a stern lecture and revoked recreation privileges. Nothing in my 20 years of service had prepared me for what was coming. By the time I reached the command center, the screens were alive with chaos. Governor Elias stood rigid, his weathered face pale as he stared at the incoming feed. "Chen, we've got a situation." That was an understatement. The feed from Mining Outpost Delta showed 3 sleek, obsidian vessels hovering over our extraction equipment. They were nothing like human designs, no visible propulsion systems, no seams or rivets, just smooth surfaces that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Beautiful in their way, terrifying in their implication. First contact, I breathed, the words heavy in my mouth. "Maybe," Elias replied, his voice tight. "They're not responding to any communications." I watched as Delta's security team moved into position below the vessels. Standard protocol, non-threatening posture, weapons visible but lowered. The team leader, Jackson, stepped forward, hands raised in the universal gesture of peace. The vessel's response was immediate. A pulse of blue-white energy erupted from the lead ship, washing over Jackson and his team. For a split second, they were outlined in brilliant light, and then they simply unraveled. There's no other word for it. Their bodies came apart at a molecular level, dispersing into the thin atmosphere of Proxima. 12 people, gone in seconds. "Get everyone to shelter," I ordered, my training taking over as my mind struggled to process what I'd just witnessed. "Activate our defense systems and evacuate nearby outposts." "Defense systems?" Elias laughed, a hollow sound. "We have mining lasers and 6 security shuttles with basic armaments. This is a research colony, not a military installation." He was right. Proxima Centauri wasn't supposed to need defending. 4 light years from Earth, we were alone in this system, or so we thought. The colony housed 3,000 civilians, scientists, engineers, miners, and their families. We had enough firepower to handle unruly colonists, not an alien invasion. The alien vessels moved with fluid precision toward the main colony. We had minutes, maybe less. "Scramble the shuttles," I ordered. "Have them create a diversion while we evacuate the residential sectors." A diversion. Elias looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "You saw what they did to Delta Team." "I did," I replied, already moving toward the armory. "Which is why we're not going to try to talk to them. Get the civilian bunkers sealed and get me every person on this rock who can operate our mining equipment." Sometimes the best defense is making the enemy think twice about attacking. Our 6 security shuttles launched, piloted by the bravest souls I've ever known. They flew in tight formation, their small laser mounts firing continually, not at the alien vessels, but around them, creating a perimeter of warning shots. A message even aliens should understand: "Come closer, and we'll aim for you next." It bought us 27 minutes. 27 minutes while the alien ships held position, seemingly assessing this unexpected resistance. 27 minutes to move civilians into our underground shelters. 27 minutes to grab every piece of mining equipment that could be repurposed as a weapon. Then the aliens made their move, and those 27 minutes seemed pointless. The alien vessels simply ignored our shuttles. They passed through our warning perimeter, their hulls absorbing laser fire without the slightest damage. One of our pilots, Rodriguez, made a desperate move, ramming her shuttle directly into the side of an alien ship. The shuttle exploded on impact. The alien vessel didn't even slow down. They reached the colony's main dome in seconds. The same blue-white energy that had disintegrated the Delta team now carved through our reinforced plastics like they were tissue paper. Atmosphere vented into the thin Proxima air, and with it went the lives of anyone who hadn't made it to the shelters. From my position in the emergency command bunker, I watched the feeds with mounting horror. The aliens moved methodically, systematically destroying our infrastructure. Not random destruction. They targeted power generators, communication arrays, water reclamation systems. They knew exactly what would hurt us most. They're not here to communicate, I realized aloud. They're here to exterminate. The colony's chief engineer, Nakamura, nodded grimly beside me. They're dismantling us piece by piece. Then we need to give them something they don't expect, I said, an idea forming. Nakamura, what's the most powerful piece of equipment we have? The mass driver at Outpost Gamma, he replied without hesitation. Designed to launch processed ore into orbit for pickup. Magnetic accelerator capable of launching a 20-ton payload at escape velocity. Can you reconfigure it? Nakamura's eyes widened as he caught my meaning. To target those ships? Maybe. We'd need to override safety protocols, recalibrate the targeting systems. It wasn't built as a weapon, Captain. Neither was humanity, I replied. But we're good at improvising. We worked through the night, communicating with the skeleton crew at Outpost Gamma via emergency channels. The aliens continued their methodical destruction, working their way outward from the main dome. They hadn't discovered our underground facilities yet, but it was only a matter of time. By dawn, we were ready. The mass driver had been reconfigured, its massive electromagnetic coils now aimed at the sky instead of orbit. We'd loaded it with a payload of mining explosives, not sophisticated, but powerful. The kind used to break apart especially stubborn geological formations. We've got one shot at this, I told the assembled group of engineers and security personnel. Once we fire, they'll know where we are. Everyone needs to be ready to move to secondary shelters immediately. Nakamura's hands flew over the control panel, making final adjustments. Target locked on the largest vessel. Firing in 3, 2, 1. The mass driver roared to life, the entire outpost vibrating with its power. A streak of light shot skyward, carrying 20 tons of explosives toward the alien ship. Time seemed to slow as we watched the trajectory on our screens. The aliens didn't react, didn't attempt to evade. Perhaps they didn't register the danger, or perhaps they were simply too confident in their technology. Their mistake. The impact was spectacular. Our payload struck the underside of the vessel, the explosives detonating on contact. For a moment, nothing happened, and I felt my heart sink. Then the alien ship shuddered, blue energy cascading across its surface in erratic patterns. It listed to one side, then began a slow descent toward the surface. We heard it, breathed Elias, disbelief in his voice. Move, I ordered, already heading for the exit. Everyone to secondary positions before they trace the launch. We barely made it. As our transport cleared the ridge, the alien response came, a barrage of energy that reduced Outpost Gamma to superheated vapor. But the message had been sent. Humanity would not go quietly. Over the next 48 hours, we played a deadly game of cat and mouse across the Proxima colony. The aliens hunted us with increasing desperation, their methodical approach giving way to more erratic patterns. The damaged ship eventually crashed, providing us with our first close look at their technology. Nakamura led a salvage team, working feverishly to understand what we captured. It's incredible, he reported, his exhausted face lit with the fervor of discovery. Their propulsion system, their weapons, they're all based on principles we've theorized but never implemented. Gravitational manipulation, molecular disassembly. Can we use any of it? I asked, cutting to the heart of the matter. Yes and no, he replied. We can't replicate their technology, but we might be able to disrupt it. They use a quantum field that maintains the structural integrity of their ships. If we can generate a counter-resonance, in plain English, Nakamura, he smiled thinly, we might be able to make them fall apart, Captain, just like they did to our people. We worked through another sleepless night, converting our remaining mining equipment into makeshift field generators based on Nakamura's insights. The aliens had destroyed 70% of the colony's surface structures, but our underground network remained largely intact. We had resources, we had people, and now we had a plan. As dawn broke on the fourth day, we launched our counterattack, not with brute force, but with precisely calibrated disruption fields broadcast from a dozen locations simultaneously. Our remaining shuttles, piloted remotely, carried improvised field generators directly toward the alien vessels. The effect wasn't as dramatic as our mass driver attack, but it was devastating in its own way. The alien ship's sleek surfaces began to ripple and distort as our counter-resonance took effect. Their energy weapons sputtered and failed. For the first time, they attempted to retreat, pulling away from the colony with visibly diminished speed. They're running, Elias said, watching the feed from our emergency command center. Not fast enough, I replied, and gave the order to detonate the explosives we'd loaded onto our shuttles. The explosion engulfed the second alien vessel completely. When the glare faded from our screens, there was nothing left but dispersing debris. The third vessel, crippled but intact, continued its retreat, limping away from Proxima toward the outer system. Should we pursue? Asked my security chief. I considered the question carefully. We'd lost hundreds of colonists. Our surface installations were in ruins. Pursuing the alien ship would mean committing resources we desperately needed for survival. No, I decided. We've sent our message. Now we rebuild and prepare, because they'll be back. And next time, we'll be ready. I didn't know then how right I was, or how soon our next encounter would come. I couldn't have guessed that our desperate defense of a single colony would ignite a conflict that would reshape humanity's understanding of our place in the galaxy. But as I looked around at the determined faces of my fellow colonists, I knew one thing for certain. Whatever came next, humanity would face it together. And we would not go quietly into the dark. Turning the tide. 3 months after the attack on Proxima Centauri, I stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, watching as Earth's defense fleet assembled in high orbit. 16 vessels of war, the entirety of humanity's military spacecraft, gathered for what might be our species' final stand. The surviving alien ship hadn't fled to lick its wounds. It had gone to call for reinforcements. Captain Chen. Admiral Zhou's voice pulled me from my thoughts. The Defense Council is ready for your briefing. I nodded, straightening my newly issued fleet uniform. After our partially successful defense of the colony, I'd been recalled to Earth, promoted and placed in charge of special weapons development. My experience with the aliens and the insights we'd gained from their technology had made me suddenly valuable in ways my previous 20 years of service never had. The briefing room fell silent as I entered. 8 grim-faced military leaders and 3 civilian officials waited expectantly. The weight of humanity's future rested on what I was about to share. Ladies and gentlemen, I began, activating the holographic display. 3 days ago, our deep space monitoring stations detected a gravitational anomaly at the edge of our solar system. Based on the patterns we observed at Proxima, we believe this signals the arrival of a significant alien force. The display showed the projected course, a direct line toward Earth. Current estimates indicate at least 15 vessels, including what appears to be a command ship approximately 3 times the size of the craft we encountered at Proxima. They will reach Earth in 5 days. Admiral Zhou leaned forward. And you believe the countermeasures developed from your colony's encounter will be effective against this larger force? I believe they're our best chance, I replied carefully. Dr. Nakamura and his team have refined the disruption technology substantially. We've also incorporated elements of the alien technology we salvaged into our fleet's weapon systems. But I won't lie to you. We're facing a technologically superior enemy in greater numbers. Then why do you look so damn confident, Chen? Asked General Rivera, the most decorated military leader present. I allowed myself a small smile. Because technology isn't everything, General. These aliens have shown a critical weakness. They're overconfident. They expect us to be easy prey, as most of their victims likely were. They don't adapt quickly to unexpected resistance. And most importantly, they don't understand what they've awakened in us. The room was silent as I continued. Humanity has been fighting itself for millennia. We've developed warfare to an art form. These aliens may have better ships and weapons, but we have something they lack. The collective experience of thousands of years of conflict, adaptation, and overcoming superior forces through creativity and sheer determination. Pretty words, Rivera said, but will they stop alien weapons? No, I admitted, but this will. I brought up the schematics for Project Aegis, the defensive system we developed based on the counter-resonance technology from Proxima, now scaled up to planetary proportions. We've established a network of field generators in Earth orbit and on the surface. When activated, they'll create a disruption field specifically calibrated to the quantum signature of alien technology. Any alien ship entering the field will experience catastrophic systems failure. And our ships? Asked Admiral Zhao. Will be unaffected, I assured him. The field only targets the specific quantum frequency used in alien technology. But this is defensive, noted Defense Secretary Williams. What about our offensive capabilities? I nodded to Dr. Nakamura, who had been silently observing from the corner. He stepped forward, his exhaustion evident in the dark circles under his eyes. For 3 months, he had barely slept, driving his team to transform alien technology into something we could use. We've modified the fleet's primary weapons with what we're calling resonance amplifiers, he explained. Rather than trying to penetrate alien hulls directly, these weapons will induce a sympathetic resonance in their quantum fields, essentially causing their own technology to destabilize and collapse. In simpler terms, I added, we're turning their greatest strength into their greatest vulnerability. The plan was approved unanimously. Over the next 4 days, Earth prepared for battle. Civilian populations were moved to underground shelters. The fleet conducted continuous drills, integrating the new weapons systems and tactics I'd developed based on our experience at Proxima. And I struggled with the weight of responsibility. If I was wrong, if our adaptations of alien technology failed, humanity might not survive to attempt another defense. The alien fleet arrived exactly when we predicted, emerging from their faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. They moved with the same arrogant confidence I remembered from Proxima, making no attempt to conceal their approach or evade our early warning systems. They still don't see us as a threat, I observed from the bridge of the Retribution, now positioned with the rest of the fleet in lunar orbit. Good. Admiral Zhao, commanding the operation from the flagship Inevitable, gave the order. All ships maintain position. Activate Aegis network on my mark. The alien fleet entered the outer defense perimeter, their trajectory aimed directly at Earth. 15 vessels of various sizes, led by a massive command ship that dwarfed even our largest vessels. They moved in perfect formation, their obsidian hulls gleaming in the distant sunlight. Aegis activated, reported the system controller. For several long moments, nothing happened. The alien fleet continued its advance, now passing the orbit of Mars. I felt a cold sweat break out on my forehead. Had we miscalculated? Had they adapted already? Then it began. Subtle at first, a ripple across the surface of the smallest alien vessel. The ripple became a wave, and suddenly the ship was shuddering violently, blue energy crackling across its hull in chaotic patterns. It's working, breathed Nakamura beside me. One by one, the alien ships began to show signs of distress. Their perfect formation wavered as they struggled against the invisible force disrupting their systems. Several smaller vessels fell away, drifting off course as their propulsion systems failed. But the command ship pushed forward, apparently shielded against the worst effects of our disruption field. All ships, advance to engagement positions, ordered Admiral Zhao. Prepare to fire resonance weapons on my command. Our fleet moved with practiced precision, forming a protective screen between Earth and the approaching aliens. The Retribution took position on the fleet's left flank, our weapons systems locked on the command ship. Fire, came the order, and humanity struck back. The resonance weapons were unlike anything in our arsenal before. There was no beam, no projectile, just a focused wave of energy that looked almost like a heat shimmer in space. But when that shimmer reached the alien vessels, the effect was immediate and devastating. The three lead ships simply came apart, their hulls dissolving into clouds of particles as their quantum fields collapsed. The others attempted evasive maneuvers, breaking formation and scattering in all directions. The command ship, however, adapted quickly. It released a pulse of energy that seemed to stabilize its quantum field, neutralizing the effect of our weapons. Then it returned fire, lances of blue-white energy that cut through space toward our fleet. Evasive action, I ordered, and the Retribution banked sharply, narrowly avoiding the deadly beam. Two of our smaller vessels weren't as fortunate, taking direct hits that reduced them to expanding debris fields in seconds. The battle devolved into chaos. Our fleet split into tactical units, engaging the dispersed alien vessels while avoiding the deadly fire from the command ship. We were holding our own, but the command ship continued its inexorable approach toward Earth, shrugging off our attacks like they were nothing more than annoyances. "We need to take out that command ship," I said over the fleet channel. "Nothing matters if we can't stop it from reaching Earth." "Agreed," replied Admiral Zhao. "But our weapons are barely affecting it." "Ideas, Captain Chen." I studied the tactical display, watching as the command ship adjusted its quantum field to counter each of our attacks. It was learning, adapting in real time. It's compensating for our disruption frequency, I realized. "Nakamura, can we modulate our attack? Hit it with multiple frequencies simultaneously?" "Theoretically, yes," he replied, already working on his console. "But we'd need to coordinate the entire fleet to generate the full spectrum." "Admiral Zhao," I called, "we need to coordinate a simultaneous attack from all remaining vessels. Nakamura is sending the frequency assignments now." What followed was the most precisely coordinated attack in human military history. 12 ships, positioned around the alien command vessel, fired their resonance weapons in perfect synchronization, each targeting a specific frequency in the quantum spectrum. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The command ship continued forward, its weapon systems targeting our vessels one by one. Then a fissure appeared in its hull, a small crack that rapidly spread across its surface like ice breaking on a spring pond. Blue energy poured from the widening gaps, and the massive ship began to shudder violently. "It's working," someone shouted over the comm. But our victory was not yet complete. As the command ship began to disintegrate, it made one final desperate attack. Not at our fleet, but at Earth itself, a concentrated beam of energy unlike anything we'd seen before, directed toward the planet's surface. Without hesitation, the inevitable moved into the beam's path, intercepting the attack meant for Earth. The massive flagship held for 3 seconds under the onslaught before breaking apart, taking Admiral Zhao and his crew with it. Their sacrifice gave us the seconds we needed. The command ship's attack faltered as its systems failed completely, and then it was gone, collapsing in on itself in a spectacular implosion that briefly outshone the sun. The remaining alien vessels, now leaderless and damaged, attempted to retreat. We showed no mercy. After Proxima, after what they tried to do to Earth, humanity's response was unanimous. None would escape to bring back reinforcements. 3 hours later, it was over. Earth's orbital space was littered with debris, alien and human alike. We'd lost 5 ships and nearly 2,000 personnel. But Earth was safe, and humanity had sent a message to the stars. We will not be easy prey. In the days that followed, our scientists combed through the alien debris, gathering more of their technology for study. We learned they called themselves the Narvik, a species that had dominated their region of space for millennia, expanding by simply eliminating any other intelligent life they encountered. They had never faced significant resistance before. They had never needed to adapt or evolve their tactics, and they had never expected that a species they considered primitive could turn their own technology against them so effectively. 1 year later, I stood on the observation deck of the new United Earth Defense Station, watching as the expanded fleet conducted training maneuvers in Earth orbit. 25 ships now, with more under construction, each incorporating the technology we'd learned from the Narvik, but improved upon with human ingenuity. "Captain Chen," a voice called from behind me. President Okafor approached, extending her hand. Or should I say Admiral Chen now? I smiled, still not used to the new rank. "Captain will do, Madam President." "The expansion fleet is nearly ready," she said, looking out at the ships. "Humanity's first purposeful venture beyond our solar system. The Council has unanimously approved your appointment as Expedition Commander." I nodded, my thoughts returning to Proxima, now fully rebuilt and serving as our forward base. "We still don't know how many Narvik are out there, or who else we might encounter." "That's precisely why we're going," she replied. "Better to explore and prepare than wait for the next threat to find us." She was right, of course. The attack had changed humanity forever. We would never again be content to remain isolated in our little corner of the galaxy, ignorant of the dangers and possibilities that awaited us among the stars. "We'll be ready in 2 weeks," I said. "The Retribution's refit is nearly complete." As President Okafor left, I remained at the viewport, watching Earth rotate slowly below. We had faced extinction and survived. We had taken the worst our enemy could deliver and emerged stronger. A dozen lives lost at Proxima had sparked a fire that could not be extinguished. Humanity's determination to claim our place among the stars, not as victims, but as a force to be reckoned with. And if the Narvik were still out there, watching and waiting, let them come. This time, we would be ready. This time, we would not be surprised. This time, humanity would be waiting.